The Duelist Cup is over. Hello guys and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, I wanted to talk about my experience with the Duelist Cup. And as you can see here, the Duelist Cup just ended. If we look at the rankings, I am in the top 2,000, most likely going to end up somewhere around there. We can see Tatsuku and some other top players still receiving their points, likely to kind of stabilize here in a second. But we can see, here are the top 10. There you go. As you can see, here's where 2000 is, so likely I'll be around there somewhere. But I just wanted to talk about my experience with the Duelist Cup. This was one of the first Duelist Cups in a long time that I really wanted to participate in because I was a big fan of this meta. Looking at the TCG, looking at in Master Duel and how it was leading up to this Duelist Cup, I was pretty excited. I'm a big fan of Vanquish Soul Canine, Yummy, and Draco Tail, all of which are very fun decks for me, both to play and to play against. So again, going into this, I had high hopes. I was dedicated, I wanted to play it, I had built a deck, and I'll showcase the deck in a little. But I ended up playing a bunch of different decks. I played four different decks, three of which that I thought were actually good, and one I don't know. It was kind of interesting. But, I didn't do too great. I ended up the second day I kind of just fizzled out because of deck choice mostly. But it really did frustrate me. And I have a bunch of thoughts, good and bad overall with the experience. First and foremost, I do want to say, I don't actually think that this Duelist Cup concept is as bad as a lot of people have made it out to be, including myself. Having actually played it now and having actually seen what goes into actually performing, I do think that it is okay, right? And oftentimes now we are seeing, the same people at the top, right? Also, by the way, Sisyphus, 10 out of 10 name. Just goated name. Anyway, but again, I mean, we are seeing a lot of the same players in the top spots over and over and over again when it comes to the Duelist Cups, and having experienced it myself now, I can see why that is the case, right? You do actually have to just be good, right? It's about understanding the metagame, but also being good enough at playing the game. I noticed a lot of mistakes that I was making that were severely hampering my my win rate, and so a lot of the time I feel like it is not just a sit down, grind, and play 10 million games. It is more about actually having a good win rate. That I don't feel like was the case with Duel Links. Duel Links definitely, in the past at the very least, when I did play in the KC Cups, those felt way more like just sit down and play a ton of games, play as many games as possible, just due to the nature of the way that the speed duel format works and the way that skills work and stuff like that. There weren't a whole ton of decisions you could really make to just have a higher win rate. It was oftentimes just whoever played the most games. Oftentimes the top 100 players were just whoever played the most games. So there's that. That being said, all in all, nonetheless, a still fun experience. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. First and foremost, the good. I actually do like this format. I think the format is pretty good. I think there's a lot of really cool things that you could do. I did end up towards the end playing for the last little bit. I ended up playing Draco Tail, which got me to the highest highs that I ended on, which was pretty good. Yeah, this, by the way, this was the height. I stopped at 2100. Anyway, this was the list that I played. Pretty simple list. Big fan of it. Worked really well for me. Big fan of Draco Tail. Just like that mid-range style deck. It was pretty fun. And yeah, it ended up working pretty well for me. I will say Shifter probably wasn't necessary. I threw it in here for Yummy and it never really came up. But regardless, all in all, a pretty solid deck and a fun experience with it. I also played Vanquish Soul Canine. I'm not too big of a fan of that list that I played, so I'm not going to show you it, but did play Vanquish Soul Canine. That one I did pretty poorly on. I felt like I just wasn't comfortable on that list. I hadn't played it enough. I didn't have as much experience on it, and that deck really is testing for just making sure that you know exactly where to go, all of your interactions, and how to best make use of them. And I made a ton of mistakes with that one, and it ended up costing me a bunch. In fact, the second day, the two decks that I played, I was not a big fan of. I played, let me show you. I ended up playing the Vagrant Soul Canine, which was something akin to this. I don't think it was exactly this list, but it was something akin to this, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I played poorly, which ended up costing me a lot. And the other one that I played was Snake Eyes. I played a bunch of Snake Eyes on day 2, or I should say, it was technically day 1. So there's that. But it was Friday. It was Friday for me. But I ended up playing this one, and I ended up, I think I had like 15 or so games on this, and won maybe 2 coin flips with this deck. So a lot of that was just bad coin flip luck. This is a very heavy go first style deck. I did cut down the small worlds. They were just bad. Just cut them immediately. Weren't very useful. So there's that. But overall, those were the 2 decks that I did poorly with. The other 2 decks that I played were the Draco Tail list, which you saw, and the Tri-Brigade Yummy list. It's slightly different from this. We added in the Radiant Typhoon cards as well. I have the list somewhere. But the Tri-Brigade Yummy list that I did end up playing was pretty good. It did perform pretty well for me alongside the Radiant Typhoon cards. And that was what I played the first day, or the first half, right, of Friday. And I ended up doing really well. I got to like 12,000 in the first 4 hours. So I was able to do pretty well with that. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the Yummy list with the Tri-Brigade and stuff like that. However, this is where we get into the bad. Let's talk about, where is it? Oh, here. There you go. This is what I ended up playing. Let's talk about the bad. Radiant Typhoon. Yeah, I can't stand this deck. Or more specifically, the actual cards themselves. They are way too heavily pushed. They are way too powerful. First and foremost, Eldam and Swen are basically just better versions of Terror Top, which I already don't like. Because unlike Terror Top, there's no restrictions on these. You just kind of get a free guy that gets another guy. It's great. And on top of that, if you're playing additional search targets, which is not exactly unreasonable, especially because you can search out back row removal, which I think is really heavily undervalued by Konami. I think Konami doesn't understand the value of back row removal because, yeah, being able to search out MST is crazy. Just in like any deck. It's really, really powerful to have consistent searchable removal, period. Imagine if you had this, but it was just like a monster removal. It was just like a quick play, pop a guy. No downside. That's it. You just pop a guy. Like, imagine if that was the case, right? Do you think that would be searchable? Probably not. It'd probably be heavily restricted to one archetype and would require you to play like a guy that locks you or something, right? Anyway, the thing is, back row removal is still really good, and having basically Terror Top also be able to search out Mystical Space Typhoon to deal with back row on top of all of the other things that it can do is very strong. Not to mention all of the other extremely powerful effects on all of the insane monsters of Radiant Typhoon. Do I not have a Radiant Typhoon? I'm going crazy. I have a Radiant Typhoon list somewhere. There it is. Yeah, Radiant Typhoon, first and foremost, Radiant Typhoon has the ability to play a whole bunch of really powerful spells right now. Things like Droplet, Super Polymerization, and the like are just generically strong, right? On top of that, they have things like Vararoon, the Vibrant Vortex, which is one of the most custom cards I've ever read. It's a monster negate, and it can reborn itself from the grave, and it can special summon itself from the hand, and it's got 3,000 defense. Like, I don't think I can understate how much it matters that this card has 3,000 defense. It was very frustrating the amount of times I just couldn't deal with this card without having to also play into the negation. It was really frustrating, and that was a lot of the problems that I had with the Radiant Typhoon cards. There was basically nothing you could do to actually interact with them, not to mention if you got like Sheena'd or something of that nature, right? If you're just whole board, just win away, it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Your whole board's gone now, right? Not to mention things like Harpy's Featherstorm and all of the other just insane consistency cards that they have access to. But the thing is, that's not the problem that I have with these cards. While they are powerful, right? For the most part, if they were archetypal and just stuck to their archetype, I'd be like, okay, it's a powerful archetype, that happens, that's fine. It's not that big of a deal, right? At least it's a fine archetype. The problem is, they're not. Vision, for some reason, allows you to just pitch a quick play spell as opposed to any, Radiant Typhoon card. So basically, this just became Allure of Darkness, but for spell decks, like Sky Striker, a deck that just continues to receive more and more bullshit support. I cannot express how much I despise Sky Striker and its current design philosophy, and it's really frustrating to see that we are continuing to support this archetype, or more specifically, give adjacent support to it. Anyway, Vision is an absolutely crazy card, not to mention all of the other cards also being able to search out MST in addition to all of their other effects. It's just very silly. I'm really not a big fan of this deck anymore. This deck in particular, with this Duelist Cup, just showed me how frustrating it is. Because it was everywhere, because it's a good deck. It's a very strong deck. But man, was it frustrating to play against, because it just kind of felt like it didn't matter what you did, right? Either, they drew Droplet, they drew Super Poly, you just died, or they drew nothing, and it didn't matter anyway, right? They had like 3 MSTs already in hand, and they're just staring at you like, I don't know, I guess you don't have any back row, but I ain't got any plays. And that's what it felt like. It wasn't really a very fun experience for me to play against this deck. The other deck of note was, of course, Mitsu. Mitsu was everywhere. Everyone was playing it either with Ryzeal or without. A lot of people were playing it pure with like a bunch of reptile extenders or starters like Lamia and what have you as just like a guy to get for your Mitsu combo. And quite frankly, it was frustrating. This deck became very boring very fast. And a lot of that is simply due to the fact that Murakumo is really, really powerful. It feels very... How do I express this? Mitsu is a deck that you could tell was not designed around having a starter, like an actual good one-card starter like Habakiri, right? Habakiri being a one-card starter kind of ruined the entire design philosophy of Mitsu. And Murakumo has a lot of the power budget already attached to it, and then they added Habakiri, making it even better than it already was. So much so that Murakumo now just reads like a nightmare. Oh, it's a board wipe, a searcher, an extender, and also forces the opponent to just randomly discard a card. Oh, heaven forbid you try to interact with me. Get rid of a card in your hand. It's really, really powerful in a format and in a style where you don't have access to Habakiri, but we do. And now it's just frustrating, right? It's not an engaging card or boss monster, it's just a frustrating aspect to Mitsurugi. And it's basically the entire power budget, as previously mentioned. That being said, Futsu is also a nightmare because, yeah, as it turns out, being able to special summon an infinite amount of guys is pretty strong. Yeah, it just doesn't have a once per turn on it. I don't know why this effect right here doesn't have a once per turn, but yeah, it just freely gets to special summon the entire deck back. Oh, you used a guy? That doesn't matter. Put it back onto the field. Just keep putting them back. Just free material, free guys, free protection. Phenomenal. And like, again, these two paired together without Habakiri is fine, because the difference is you're getting big, powerful boss monsters with a lack of consistency, right? And you're not really getting that massive payoff, but now you do with Habakiri. So, cool. Yeah, those two decks I genuinely thought were terrible, just super unfun to play against, and they were everywhere from what I experienced. Obviously, I wasn't playing at like the toppest tables, right? But I saw these two decks more than anything else, more than Dracotail, more than Yummy, more than Mitsurugi, or not Mitsurugi, more than Canine even, right? Even just like other Canine variants, right? And obviously more than Vanquish All Canine. So, kind of crazy to see. And those two I genuinely think were the most frustrating. Even more so than like Yummy, right? Because Yummy, at the very least, is an interesting deck to play and to play against. So I can at least have that back and forth. Mitsurugi is just frustrating. It's like, okay, your board's gone, and also negate, and also negate, and also negate. And it's like, okay, well, that's just boring, right? Anyway, those are my thoughts on the bad, I guess. I don't actually have anything in terms of the ugly. I feel like for the most part, this was still a fine Duelist Cup. I did get really frustrated day 2, and I think it was mostly because I was just playing like a really bad deck, and it made me feel even worse because I was also missing a whole bunch of coin flips and stuff like that. So it made it feel even worse. But overall, I do think that the Duelist Cup as a whole is always fun because at the very least you're playing against better players, right? Oftentimes I'll play against like just people trying random stuff, and it's very frustrating because oftentimes that stuff is just like, here's this wombo combo that I discovered that's, you know, prevents you from playing the game. This never really felt like that. I felt like a lot of the decks and a lot of the gameplay was at least more dynamic and more interesting. Every deck right now is just insanely powerful. There's so much powerful engine in the game right now. The Radiant Typhoon engine is very powerful. The Mitsurugi engine is very powerful. The Vanquishol engine is very powerful, etc., etc. All of this kind of paired together to make it so that a lot of times I was losing not necessarily to things like Maxi or Fuwa loss, but actual engine. So at the very least, it was enjoyable in that aspect, right? Yeah, you did get the ability to actually play against other people's engine and to truly experience that. So, for the most part, as far as the Duelist Cup goes, I thought it was fine. The power level of the format is very, very high, and I would like to see it toned down quite substantially. I think there's just so much that every deck can do basically off of nothing, and it's very frustrating to play against because you can be like, oh, I have my opponent on one card, and then they one card combo you into oblivion, and you're like, okay, well, I guess it didn't matter, right? And there was a lot of instances of that. There's a lot of just really silly, powerful things available right now. Looking at the format, there are some very clear things that I would like changed, right? First and foremost, ban Habakiri. Just, let's get that one out of there. Clearly, they messed up with that one. Let's remove it. It's a problem. Second, ban Ripper. Put back all of the other cards, ban Ripper, you're good, right? Vanquishol can have all of its cards back, Canine can have all of its cards back. Ripper is very clearly the issue. Being able to negate a hand trap is kind of dumb. And also have Searcher and Extension and all of that jazz. Ripper is poorly designed, not a big fan of it. Third thing, the random one-ofs that exist still in this game, Maxi, Shifter, Called By, Crossout, stuff like that, you can get those out of there as well. What is it? Harpy's Featherstorm, that one's probably good to go as well. I would like to see limitations to the Radiant Typhoon cards. Obviously, that's not going to happen in Master Duel, but I would like to see specifically the Draw 2 spell at least limited to 1, if not just outright banned. I think that's just a really silly card design, and I'm really not a big fan of it. It's just too generically powerful, similar to that of, like, Engage, except even more so. I guess it's more akin to that of Allure, right? Except for even more generic, because a lot of different decks can play not just dark monsters, but quick plays. It's not exactly difficult to get a quick play, and that card also searches a quick play. So if you draw 2, you could just search the quick play and then draw 2. So you're thinning your deck even more. So it's kind of silly. That would be a card I would like to see limited in some capacity. I just saw that card everywhere and I was like, okay, something has to happen with that. Again, the Radiant Typhoon engine, really, really problematic. The other limitation was specifically to Yummy. And if you were to ban simply Cupsy Yummy Way, I think you can give Yummy everything else if you ban this card. A lot of the issues that I saw with Yummy in particular were due to the fact that you could go any 2 guys, like here's a level 1, here's a link 1, bada bing, bada boom, here's full Yummy. Yay, right? That was a lot of my issues with it. So if you just cut them off of the ability to do that, obviously it also hurts Yummy, but if you just cut Yummy off of that ability to have any link 1 and any level 1 does the whole Yummy line, that would be pretty nice, right? A lot of like Sulfacord Yummy, or, that was mostly what I saw in regards to that, but it was also like, here's random Time Maiden, and other such, you know, level 1 guy that goes into the yummy stuff. So doing that would be nice. Then at the very least, if you do play the yummy engine, or if you play a yummy deck, you still have the ability to go Lollipo and generate a bunch of advantage or a cookie or what have you as disruption, but you are now forced to actually draw some of the yummies, which I think is way more important, right? Kind of similar in nature to the way that Sprite used to work with Gigantic. The only difference is that, unlike Gigantic, it's way easier to get a Link 1 onto the field for free than it is to just get, like, 2 2s. That sounds counterintuitive, but it actually is significantly easier to just get a Link 1 and a level 1. There's a lot of ways to do that, apparently. I guess there's not, like, a ton of... Anyway, it's very similar to Sprite. The only difference is that you're doing Yummy instead of Sprite. And Yummy is just better Sprite right now. So, there you go. Back in the day, I would also say ban Gigantic. So, anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought down below for the Duelist Cup. I don't know. I was mostly frustrated because this felt like it could have been really good. They just needed more of a limitation to Mitsu specifically. Mitsu was very clearly an issue, and the fact that they didn't limit it more in some capacity really hindered my enjoyment of the Duelist Cup. And then releasing Radiant Typhoon, because just in general, just releasing that deck the way that it is a travesty. But those are my thoughts on the Duelist Cup. Let me know down below if you guys agree, if you guys disagree. What are your thoughts? Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.